The clock is ticking for residents in an Indiana subdivision to come up with a plan to maintain 6 dams in their neighborhood. After more than 20 years, the State Department of Natural Resources discovered the dams and found they had critical structural issues. The DNR told residents it was up to them to find a way to make repairs. With thousands of dollars on the line, there's a lot of finger pointing. And as Sarah Whitmire reports, this situation is likely to happen again as more non-regulated dams show up on the state's radar.
If you could choose the most perfect spot in Indiana to live, Leon Husky says his neighborhood north of Peru would top the list.
Living here is like coming home to a resort every night. With the lakes, the trees, we have so much wildlife here.
For 18 years, he's lived here in his dream home in the northern part of the state.
When I purchased the property, I bought 2 lots. One lot was a lakefront lot, the other lot was just adjacent to it. But nothing was ever discussed about dam ownership or inspections or anything, so total surprise when we received the letter.
A letter from the Department of Natural Resources in September said there was a problem with the dams in the subdivision. They hadn't been permitted properly when they were constructed more than 20 years ago. They hadn't been inspected since their construction, and they weren't being maintained. The
letter implied that the residents were the dam owners and that we needed to come up with some plan on inspection, repair, annual inspections or whatever. They kind of were putting that directly on us.
According to the DNR, there are 6 unpermitted dams in Husky's subdivision, and they're all classified as high hazard, meaning they could cause loss of life or property damage if they're breached.
People have unfortunately built many that they either didn't get permits, didn't go through appropriate processes, and there are likely dams of a size to be regulated that we don't know about.
Smith says it's a common misconception that the government owns most dams. In reality, about 70% of dams across the country and in Indiana are privately owned. 26 state-owned dams are in poor or unsatisfactory condition. The number of privately owned dams in the same condition is more than 15 times that number, at more than 400. Private dams are required to go through the same inspection process and maintenance procedures as government-owned dams. The question becomes, who pays for that?
Dams can be sort of a money pit for people.
To complicate matters in Peru, the county maintains roads over some of the dams, so there's a question of ownership and whether the county has a responsibility to pay for some of the maintenance. Just the inspection will likely cost at least $20,000, and the state requires that be done every 2 years. That figure doesn't take into account completing the actual repairs.
We are potentially looking at possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this done. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to put into this.
It seems the most viable option residents are considering is the creation of a conservancy district, basically a special taxing district that would raise money to support a water resource. It's a fairly common thing. Here at Lake Lemon, residents worked with the DNR to establish a conservancy district in the mid-90s.
All of these homes and people that own them pay what we call a special benefits tax to the conservancy, which is in addition to their normal county taxes. Normal county taxes go for schools and highways and police protection, and the tax that we collect goes strictly towards the maintenance of the reservoir and to maintain it as a beautiful natural resource.
The tax generated $250,000 last year, but that's with roughly 525 homeowners contributing. There are fewer than 40 homes in the Peru subdivision. And it wasn't easy to establish the Conservancy District. It took 4 years to circulate a petition, get signatures, file the plan in court, and get a judge to sign the district into existence. The residents in Peru have until the first of the year to let the DNR know what course of action they want to take.
State rules outline the owner's responsibilities when a dam is being constructed. In the case of the Peru subdivision, the dams were built when the residents bought the lots and they didn't realize they owned part of the dams. Some of the residents are hoping the DNR will grandfather in their neighborhood, but the state hasn't been too willing to consider that, saying it's their job to make sure people who live downstream of the dams are safe.